Matt, Mark, and the whole crew, the Huntsinger family. They've been paying kids from UW for years, and they know it. We love Limback Lumber. You can visit them at limbacklumber.com. The QR code right there on the screen will take you right there. Look at a very handsome. He got a haircut. He's fresh off his trip to Boise, where he didn't bring the Cougs any luck. Ladies and gentlemen, the go-to guy, Jimmy Moore. How are you, sir?
Yeah, that was a tough one. Still glad I went, though. You know, I just wanted to be there in case we stayed unbeaten and we could still talk about the college playoff hopes. And, God, what were we thinking we might be a top 12 team?
It crashed to an end on that stupid blue turf. Done, kaput. Over.
Should they be able to wear blue jerseys? Like, I want to make a few excuses.
Yeah, well, come up with the excuses. I'd love to hear them.
Should they be able to wear blue jerseys?
Yes, they should wear. They should wear whatever they want. It's not why they lost the game.
Who else does that? Michigan State, right? They wear green uniforms that blend in with the turf. Was that any reason why we lost that night?
That's, to me, especially if I were a Husky fan where they come up with excuses every time they lose, I would say the number one reason why the Cougars lost was because Boise State was wearing blue uniforms.
Well, they found Genty, they just couldn't get him to the turf.
Yeah, because he's unbelievable. They can't tackle. That's why they can't tackle.
No. You know, on Old Crimson, we talked about Genty and how, we couldn't let him do what he did to us if we were going to have a chance to win. Yeah. And I think we should have maybe emphasized that even more because we're a shitty tackling team and he's probably the best in the country at shedding tackles. The combination did not work well for us.
He's unbelievable. That's why the kid's the best running back in the country. He's unreal. He's been doing this to everybody.
It looked like on TV, because I was in the corner of the end zone and they were doing most of their damage at the other end. Oh. And it just seemed like it was like, oh, you in the white jersey there, you can kind of touch me, but I'm going to just push you aside as I head to the end zone.
Very similar to the Inner Bay Eagles. They got a lot of backfield penetration. They just couldn't ever bring them. They couldn't tackle them.
What happened? Did you guys lose too?
The Eagles, tough one. Yeah. Took one on the chin this weekend, 32-6 to Everett. Everett's got a fine football team.
Well, I thought you said you guys were favored by 10.5.
Yeah, well, I was just, throwing out lines.
Okay. No, but it was just, it was rough to watch in person. I don't know what it was like on TV.
Well, it's what they always say, there's and we're going to get into the Seahawks today. Jim's going to be here for an hour today. We'll explain here in a second. We're going to talk about the Mariners. Jim's like, I am here for an hour today. Yeah, you're here for an hour today. We'll talk about the college and NFL weekend. Jim Duquette's going to join the show at about 11:05. We're going to put a wrap on the baseball season. There is 2 more games today that have playoff implications. Mariners, of course, eliminated. We will get into that. We're going to get into Jerry Dipoto. Here's what if you can see it. You can't even see what I wrote. These are the last 3 press conferences of quotes from Jerry Dipoto that I think people will find entertaining. We'll get into everything that he said in his press conference, which, again, they're not going to have a press conference because that's the Mariners. By the way, if you haven't, I've tweeted this out a million times, but we put it out on Friday. And so just Friday, people forget stuff and, they're living their lives. You go to PuckSports.com. Also, I want you to promote your new Substack site, but PuckSports.com. And Jim wrote a column on how he thinks or thought the end of the year Mariners press conference should have gone. When I tell you, if you want a good laugh and you just want to be entertained, because that's what columnists are supposed to do, is entertain you, go please read that up at PuckSports.com. It's under the blog tab. We're going to rename it the More blog or the More tab soon. But also you can find it there. And also, Jim, promote your new Substack site.
I don't really have much to promote. How's What? I'm not gonna sell you on something that I haven't really. I mean, I basically started Substack. That's like what Canzano's doing, and all these other
Danny
guys.
O'Neill does it. Christian Capel does it.
Yeah. And I just thought, I started the Substack last Friday because the News Tribune sports editor didn't really want to run the column I wrote as is. Right. Jason Puckett, you decided to run it on your website, which I really appreciate.
Of course.
I don't think you edited
awesome.
Yeah, no editing whatsoever. And then I just thought, well, why not just do a Substack? And I thought I'd kind of have some fun with it. I'm not charging anybody for it.
It's great. I love it.
And so it's just, it's just going to be ramblings, maybe some video columns. And I don't even, so the reason when I say I don't know how to promote something that I don't even know what I'm going to do with yet.
Well, but you've placed the column up there, haven't you?
I placed the column there. Yes.
Okay, so the columm about the end of the year press conference is up on Jim's Substack. It's also up at PuckSports.com. But
how do I tell people to get there?
Well, I don't know, Jim. What's the name of? Is it just Jim Moore Substack? I don't know.
I named it Go Cougs.
Okay. I'm just making notes for after the show.
No. If you want to read it, PuckSports.com, or my Twitter name line is Cougs Go. God,
just making notes. I'm just making.
You think anybody listening to this one? I actually liked that column. Normally,
post show notes.
Most of the time, columnists, I think we write them. I think Canzano might say the same thing. You write them and you go, I hope that was good. I just thought I laughed at my own shit that time.
It was fantastic. It was a fantastic column. God, it was hilarious.
I know, but
What do you mean? Yeah, it was good. It was unbelievable how funny it was. My favorite part
I sometimes wonder if I'm just amusing myself and no one else.
Yeah, but so Jim wrote a column on the Mariners using the real reporters. Do you get in trouble for that, or that because you can establish it right away? I was trying to go back to I was thinking about this because I, like you, in any journalism broadcast major at wherever school you went to, you had to take what is it, law and ethics or something? I can't remember what the name of it was at Wazoo. It was like law and ethics 250.
Yeah,
Comm law. That's exactly what it was. Comm law. And so I was thinking back to my comm law days, and I was like, can you get in trouble when you use someone's real name? But if it is implied or strongly suggested that it is satirical, then it's fine.
Well, I think I had the lead in saying, here's how I hope the press conference goes.
Yeah.
And then I did use names in there like Divish and Jude and
Aaron Levine, Jen
Mueller.
Angie
I subbed Jen Mueller. That was a late sub. Shannon Dreyer was in the starting lineup, and but she came down with a hamstring injury. So I had to put Jen Mueller in there instead. The whole column was just me being a wise ass and being sick of the Mariners.
So good.
It's just hey, I thought of you too when he talked about the prospects.
Oh, of course he did. He did exactly to a T, exactly what I thought he was going to do. Prospects.
A lot of them are
They're all going to come. They're coming on.
A lot of them are going to play in the big leagues a lot sooner than you think.
Jesus. I don't want to pat myself on the back because I'm an idiot. Okay. And I'm not as smart as pretty 99% of the people that are watching or listening to this. And I understand that. And here's the beauty, I think, with me. I understand my own issues as a person. And there are many. Okay. But that one I nailed because I knew it from the get-go what he was going to say once he talked to reporters, because he says it every year. He says the same thing every single year. Is the same thing. And a lot of you people out there buy his bullshit. And it's amazing how many of people buy his bullshit. And it's
I wasn't mad that they swept the A's this weekend, but I was disappointed because then it bolsters his case with Staton. Like, hey, John, look, we were only one game out of the wild card. One game. So if we just tweak a little bit here and a little bit there, then we're going to be good to go in 2025. That contract extension, you're going to give me another 3 years, 4 years?
And may I read just a little excerpt from the column that Jim Moore wrote on how the press conference should have gone. Jim Moore from PuckSports.com. Your track record, this was a follow-up to Dipoto asking a question about, or answering a question about John Staton, limited payroll. And Jim asked from PuckSports.com, but your track record suggests otherwise. Dipoto whispering to Heavily, who let him in here? Dipoto more audibly to reporters. Next question. Jen Mueller, Root Sports. Well, Jerry, I've always appreciated your command of the English language, the big words you use. They always perfectly describe what you're trying to convey. Can you think of one big word that was maybe your best? Dipoto. Thanks, Jen. It's nice to see you again. I'd have to say is when I told everyone that I was reimagining our roster before the 2019 season, I didn't want to say rebuilding, even though that's what we were doing. I just thought it sounded cooler to say reimagining. Where's it? Then my other favorite part is with Angie Menting. Angie Menting, Root Sports, quote, dominate the zone, my ass. What do you take us for, a bunch of fools? Your team has broken the club record for strikeouts the last 2 years, averaging more than 10 a game. How many times have we seen your players switch or swing at pitches off the plate? I'll tell you, too many bleeping to count. Divish whispering to Jude, Angie must realize Root Sports is on life support and just thought, screw it. I'm going to say what's truly on my mind instead of constantly sugarcoating this joke of a franchise. Dipoto, Angie, we recognize that we had some major flaws in our approach, and we believe we rectified the situation by hiring Edgar Martinez. Menting, quote, we all love Edgar, but he must have lost his mind to want to be a part of this mess. Just fantastic work. Sir, fantastic.
You're too kind, Puck. You're too kind.
It's amazing. Everyone loves it.
I don't know. I
Except for
don't
the Mariners.
Jerry probably wouldn't love it.
Yeah. What have you talked to anybody that you quoted in there, like Aaron Levine, Adam Jude, Jen Mueller? Anyone reach out to say, hey, why'd you include me?
No.
Why no Daniel Kramer?
No, but the last time I did it, Shanna did. So
Shannon Drayer got mad. I understand. She got mad. Well, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Well, why not Kramer? Did we just not want to include Daniel Kramer in on it? Or?
Oh, I should have included him because he's kind of. I mean, he's stuck being a house organ, though, right? I mean, he's got to be. He's got to be positive about the Mariners.
Oh well, MLB.com. Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he can't be critical of the Mariners. I don't think. So no, that's part of the reason why I didn't include him, but. Now, can we get back to your issues, though? We kind of glossed that over. I want to hear what your issues are. You know what your issues are.
As a person?
Yeah. Can you tell us what they are?
Just there's too many. I
know you have sleep issues. Are you doing better with that?
Not really. I can't turn my brain off.
You still haven't?
Yeah,
you haven't gotten 7 hours or 8 hours?
No, I just think of too much stuff. I can't sleep.
What are you averaging a night?
Oh, like 7, but it's not good 7.
Okay, you're getting 7. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. And your other issues, peanut butter?
Well, yeah, this is more just issues of short-tempered and not paying attention to people and talking over them, things like that.
I'm familiar with those.
things that don't.
I've had 3 years of that, so I'm familiar with all of that.
Well, there's a lot to get caught up on. We got the Seahawks and Lions are tonight. God, everyone's out. The line hasn't moved at all. 3.5 kind of just seems like was it 4.5 and then it went down, or
I think it's 4 now. Hey, can I tell you real quick what I'm proud of about myself? So I needed to bet on the game last night, and you always give me a hard time about this because I always say the public's wrong, and I go opposite the public, right? So I wanted to bet on the Bills. I wanted to take the Bills in 2.5. And I thought, God, they're giving up an unbeaten team 2.5 points in this game tonight. The Ravens are 1-2. They haven't gotten off to a good start. But I saw that everybody was betting on the Bills. So I went the opposite way and went $40 on the Ravens, given 2.5. And it was winner, chicken dinner.
Good for
God,
you.
that was easy.
Good for you.
Thank you.
That's
now,
a hell of a bet. I don't know. I'm just going to talk
Seahawks.
about the Seahawks and Lions. It's 3.5. They got a bunch of injuries everywhere. The entire defensive front for Seattle is out. I mean, their center's out, so maybe that is a wash. But
no, with the 4 guys that they got out. I mean, Leonard Williams, Nuwosu again.
Never. I don't count.
I got notes here. Byron Murphy. I mean, all these guys. What are they going to do? They going to be able to stop Gibbs and Montgomery? Probably not.
Well, I mean, it's the last time they faced a team that really wanted to run the ball at them, they didn't. So, I mean, here, Jim, we're going to bore everyone here. And if you're expecting some hard-hitting analysis, this ain't the place, okay? Whoever just is better up front is going to win the game. That's it.
Well, I saw that Saturday night in Boise.
You know what?
They were better up front.
And
Okay.
and you know, therein lies a huge problem with them. And I can't wait to get on Old Crimson with Paul Sorensen and have Paul tell me again how good the defense is. That's 2 weeks in a row that you have faced a team from the Mountain West in which the front on offense and defense is bigger and more physical than you. God, you're supposed to be a Pac-12 team. And those are Mountain West teams. And, I mean, you are recruiting better players. But how come when I look at them and I watch them, they don't look better? And they don't look more physical, and they don't look bigger and faster, not like Boise did. I mean, my God, guys all over the place that they looked like a power conference team. And then I look at Washington State, and I'm like, where's the size? Where's the speed?
Yeah,
that's a real problem for them, man. A real problem.
Yeah, well, somebody was saying, Mateer didn't have his best night. I'm
didn't.
Well, Jesus. He didn't, but he had people in his face all night long.
All night long. The guy
7 sacks, and then I don't know how many quarterback hits and hurries there were, but that, we've talked about it before. That kid's not going to last this season.
No.
The way his style of play, and if he's going to get sacked on top of that, imagine how worn out and bruised he is waking up after that one.
He looked during the game. He looked just toast.
Yeah,
they're sending guys from all over the place. That offensive line it's just a problem. I think the thing that just drives me nuts, and this is a broken record. We're gonna go back to it. And there's some things I like Arbuckle's version of this offense more than even Leach's offense and all that. But the problem when you run this style of offense, okay, and everyone's tired of hearing it, you just aren't physical enough. Yeah. You recruit offensive linemen that aren't physical, and they can't blow people off the ball. I mean, there was a pivotal point in the game which really turned the game. And they're down.
You're talking about the 3rd and 1 and then the 4th and inches.
They're down by 7 still. And they don't pick up the third and 4th down play. The game is still very much in the balance. And then after they don't pick it up, Boise State just goes on a run, and they just, I know they get back in within a touchdown, but for all intents and purposes, the game was over on that. Okay, yes, there were 2 horrific spots. I mean,
okay, I was going to ask you about that, because you can't, when you're in the stadium, you can't tell.
Horrific.
And on the 4th down one with Mateer, the quarterback,
he wasn't even close on that.
He looked like he had what he needed, and then he got pushed back. He wasn't close on that.
No.
So you thought that Parker wriggled enough to get the first down on 3rd down.
The 2 previous plays on 2nd and 3rd down is what led to it. I mean, I'm talking a full yard short on both. A full yard. Like not even close. Parker got the first down on 3rd down. He got
That's the way it looked. That's the way it looked in the stadium.
Not even close, Jim. He falls down, half his body's over the line.
Yeah,
half of it. And whatever. The 4th down play, no, it was embarrassing because they sat there and gave it to him initially. And I'm like, he didn't get it. I mean, the officiating crew was awful. And people, Cougar fans argue with me, but I respectfully just disagree. They're wrong. That was a safety. His forward momentum was not stopped.
Oh, yeah.
It was a safety. It just and they
at that point it didn't matter though.
No, but they blew that. The officiating crew was terrible. They missed an obvious holding penalty on a key play where Genty went around the edge. I think did he score on that one? And it was only a 7-point game. I mean, whatever. But back to the real issue is, and this is why it applies tonight. It applies in every football game. The Lions and Seahawks tonight. The more physical team up front wins the games. They just do. They consistently always win. And for Washington State, they are just not physically on that offensive line because of the system they play. They can't blow people off the ball. I mean, it shouldn't even been that close on 3rd and 1 for Parker. He should easily pick that up against Boise State, against anybody. Come on.
Yeah. No, and then what did we have on 4th down? Was it like half a yard to pick up, or even less than that?
Half a yard, but again, it was a terrible spot. But like half a yard, and you knew what was coming. The fact that they couldn't. I mean, I think John took a bad angle on it and didn't get low enough. But a guy who squats 600 pounds, and again, just zero push from an offensive line, and they just They're just bad. And everyone last year wanted to blame I can't even remember the guy's name. Who the old offensive line coach, and I'm blanking. He was an old Texas Tech guy. Everybody wanted to blame him. It's his fault. He's the worst thing in the world. He didn't recruit, couldn't coach, and they bring this new guy in, and he's not much better. The line isn't.
No, it's well, God. I mean, we just couldn't stop. The running back was just everybody was like, God, we couldn't stop number two. Number two, this. My wife texted me, like, God, they can't stop number two. We all saw it. I mean, you talk about a Heisman candidate. Mikey, my kid, was sitting there, like, Dad, I don't know if I've ever seen a better football player than this guy. So,
well, and then the last touchdown, I mean, I can't even keep up with him. The craziest one, the one that he fell down on the ground but held himself up and then goes into the end, dives into the end zone.
He looked like beast mode, didn't he?
Yeah, that will be the video that they will play when he's invited to New York.
Yeah. It was crazy. I mean, that fourth quarter was it was awful. And I felt like, but the second and third quarter, we kind of contained him a little bit. Didn't it seem like he had the game started with a bang where he ran for 70 yards or whatever? But after that, for a little while, we seemed to stop him a little bit. And I thought, okay, great. Let's put the game in the hands of that quarterback. Was shitty, man.
Yeah, he
was no good. God, you see how little he looked?
Yeah, he's not.
God, he was tiny out there. But you can get away with it when you have a running back like that. Imagine how good Mateer would be if we had that guy on our team.
He is. It's gonna be fun. I like it. I like how they've named it the Snake River Showdown. I love it. I think it's gonna be a fun rivalry moving forward. It's gonna be great. The atmosphere was great. It was the most people they've ever had there at the stadium. How was the stadium? The game experience? How was Boise? I've driven through it. Never been.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say that for as bad as the game was, if you want to just talk about a game experience, they do a good job there. They do a really good job. They've got all kinds of stuff. You know what else I liked? And you would like this too, and I think you probably already know about it. They got the dog that races out and gets the kicking tee.
I saw it. They showed it on TV a bunch.
It's awesome.
It looked like Sky. It looked just like Sky. Sky the super dog.
Overruns the tee every time because he's so excited to go out and get it. And then he's like, oh, shit, I got to go back and get it. And then he just
Two great dog moments this weekend, Jim. 3 great dog moments. Dog moment number 1 was that dog running out on the field. Okay. Dog moment number 2 is Alder, the super dog, last night knocking down the cat food and eating the entire bag of cat food last night. And then we had to be up all night long as we had to let her out like every hour. Or my wife had to do that. And then dog event number 3 from the weekend is Tucker, the Mariners dog, taking a giant shit on the infield before the game.
Is that right?
And I've got a picture of it, and it just, I mean, if there is a picture's worth 1,000 words, Tucker taking a shit on the infield perfectly sums up the 2024 Mariners season. A giant pile of shit.
Well, when was it? Was it before the game?
Before the game, yeah. Go if you can look on Twitter right now. I've retweeted it. It's just perfect. Perfect. Just perfect.
Well, the comments must be great too.
It just summarizes them. I mean, it was taken by Real Tom Bentley on Twitter, Tucker, aka Tommy. He got the picture of it. So go look, I retweeted it, or you can just go to @RealTomBentley.
That sucker must be going viral then.
It's just perfect.
Yeah. Perfect. That sums it up. So
sums up the year.
Tucker's had enough.
Tucker's had enough of all the BS from these guys and the stupid.
Tucker wants to go over to the Kraken and replace Davy Jones.
Yeah, well, Davy Jones is still on his mental meltdown, whatever Davy Jones had. He did. Davy Jones had a mental meltdown and had to be taken off the team. So yeah, the Jerry Dipoto word salad. I thought it was a joke when I saw it Saturday night. But Divish responded to somebody and said no, because Jerry Dipoto did his before the game with no reporters there, just a couple. Did an impromptu news conference or media gathering in the dugout before the game, and then a listener asked Divish, "Hey, is this it?" Is this they're going to be a press conference, or is this the press conference? And Divish goes, this is 100% the press conference. So that's what they're calling a season-ending press conference. Is Jerry Dipoto telling the three people that cover the team 20 minutes before, hey, I'm going to go talk in the dugout. That's what their season-ending press conference is. And I know people have come out, well, they don't do this every single year. Well, they've done it the last 3 years. They did it last year, and they did it the year before. So they did it the last 2 years. So they have done it before.
And so someone talked to him, some crisis firm, not the Puckett crisis firm, but their own crisis firm said, probably a better idea to just, Jerry, if you want to do something, just kind of do it off the cuff.
Yeah.
When they're not expecting it, impromptu, casual.
Well,
yeah.
I get it. You get why they didn't do it, because he puts his foot in his mouth every time he talks.
Well, even with Jerry and how he can choose all these different words that make things sound better than what they really are, even with him, he couldn't possibly pull that off this year. He couldn't. He probably said to Heavley and everybody, hey, I can do this. And somebody probably finally had to say, Jerry, no, you can't.
See,
no,
Jerry, do you remember last year when you said, we're actually doing the fan base a favor? Yeah, I don't think we can say that again. I don't think we can go out and have you say that one more time. But here's why, and I've heard people, well, why does it matter? Here's why it matters. One, because you know what, fans, it's your team. You paid for the stadium.
How about the crowds this weekend?
You built it. Well, it doesn't surprise me, but
Jesus, there were over 40,000. Now part of it yesterday, like if you're an Oakland A's fan and you wanted to be at that game, I get it. That's great. You come to Seattle, you give a tribute to the A's. Totally. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. But I don't get why there were so many Mariner fans there yesterday. I mean, you saw Logan Gilbert pitch a great game, but like those games were meaningless the last 3 games.
People love baseball. I get it. And I guess
the weather was probably nice.
Oh, yeah, it was nice, but yeah, I'm surprised how many people were there. Surprised.
116,000.
They got 40,000 plus there yesterday. I like what they did with Ricky Henderson throwing out the first pitch.
Yeah.
I would have just put him in a full A's uniform. I agree with Mark Conseo, just about have in a full A's uniform. But, Jerry Dipoto sits there and just says the same thing that I just knew he was going to say this. Oh, we've got payroll flexibility this year. Check. Same thing that he said in the past. I think this group has shown us over these last 5 weeks that we believe in them. That's the one. That's the one right there that should just alarm everyone. We're just going to move forward with the same team. This is it. This is who we are. And then he's like, well, and our outfield is set. We're good there. I don't fully believe him with a Rosarina. We'll wait and see. I do believe a Rosarina.
You know what? I'm with you on that. I'm going to write another column about, top 10 things they need to do in the offseason. And I'm going to put trade a Rosarina. I don't sense that he wants to be here. God, maybe I'm wrong about that. But I don't think he's necessarily the answer in left field. Although, what are you going to get if you trade Randy or Rosarina? Probably nothing.
I mean, I think for the cost of what he is going to get you in arbitration, I think Rosarina is worth it. I'm just saying that I'm not going to not that I want them to move a Rosarina. I'm just saying I don't fully believe him that he's not going to entertain trading Randy or Rosarina. I'm just not. I'm not willing to accept that. They've got so much money that they've got to pay people. So much money. They owe Mitch Garver $12.5 million next season. They owe Haniger $17 million. 17. And he's not going to go, hey, John, it's Mitch. Yeah, I won't take the player option. You guys can keep it. So he's going to take it. So that's almost $30 million locked up in 2 guys. Zilcho gave you nothing this year, nothing at all. Okay, a Rosarina is going to jump from 8 million, I don't know, 12, 14 million. Okay, arbitration. Who else? Cal Raleigh was making minimum 800,000, 795,000. He's going to jump 5, 6 million. He's the best catcher in baseball, and he's going to win the Silver Slugger. He's going to win a Gold Glove. He's the best all-around catcher, and it's not even close this year. So his numbers are going to go through the roof. Logan Gilbert's going to jump to about $8 million, maybe more. He was making $4 million this year. Kirby was making minimum wage. He's going to jump to about $4 million. Julio's contract jumps about $9 million to $20 million. Rojas is arbitration eligible. He made $3 million this year. I mean, I don't think they can do anything with him, but I mean, they're going to pay a lot of people. So, and then when he says our outfield is set, we're not going to trade any of the pitchers. Keep in mind, there was one pitcher he didn't name when he talked about the pitchers. He didn't name Castillo. Okay, so, but think about it. Look at all the upgrades. When he says we're not that far off, it's a load of crap. Third base, second base, first base, DH. That's 4 players on your team.
How about shorts? How about shortstop?
I think shortstop's on the table. I agree with that. And his rationale afterwards is like, I just don't think he'll be that bad again this year. That's your plan? Your plan is, I just don't think he'll be that bad? He's had one good year in his career. One good year.
Yeah, I wrote that
love
one.
JP,
I was like,
but one good year.
No, why do we always have to say that? You know, I mean, I'm with you. I'm with you. We love JP the person.
It's great.
We don't always love JP the player. He's not that good.
He's not.
He's just not.
He's not. And this is why I don't understand when people were so upset a couple of years ago about when you wanted to go entertain the likes of Trey Turner and others. Be like, why would we do that? We've got JP Crawford. Because he's not that good.
No,
that's why.
No, and when Dipoto said we're going to get a better version of JP next year, you know what? Okay, first of all, I'll just say he could be right about that. But he said all the same shit about all the same free agents they brought in. We're hoping that he'll go back to the 2021 season that he had 3 years ago. It's all these. And then, if we put him in a better position, if we probably they'll just say we should just have JP hit right-handers all the time and take him out against left-handers. There'll be some sort of platoon thing with him. And then that'll mean, you know what that'll mean? Hey, we get to see more Dylan Moore again.
Oh, you love Dylan Moore.
God bless Dylan Moore. There isn't a person alive who doesn't like Dylan Moore.
Why do we have to say that every time?
He's really not. Do you think Dylan Moore? I mean, he can be a role player on a World Series team, but if you use Dylan Moore though as much as you do with the Mariners, you're not going to be going anywhere with him. But again, we have to say we like him, because if you don't say you like him, then it's like you're trashing on a guy unnecessarily.
But if you listen to him,
some of these guys just aren't that good. Can we just say that?
Yeah.
Rather than,
of course,
they're just. The whole, and the number one thing I want Justin Turner back. I want him back. I love Justin Turner.
I know you do. I know you love Justin Turner.
And I know he's going to be 40. But I like that veteran savvy, that veteran experience in the clubhouse.
You like the V-neck with the meat salad coming out.
Everybody does. Don't you like? How can you not like Justin Turner and what he did?
I do like him. Yeah. But.
And then put Rayleigh over there with him and kind of massage that first base situation.
God, now you sound like Dipoto. But it's just everything that he said yesterday about how I think, we're really close. So we really believe in this group. 2022, when they did have a season-ending press conference, by the way, just like they had one last year. Regardless of what we do, this is Jerry Dipoto, regardless of what we do, the bulk of what our 2023 team will look like is already here. And that's the most exciting part of this. What we've done through this process over the last 3 to 4 years, especially, is build something that has sustained value. 2023, we're actually doing the fan base a favor by asking for their patience to win the World Series while we continue to build a sustainable, good roster. I mean, it's just, guys, it's 3 straight years he says the same thing to you. And I love all of you, but you all buy it. And just you gobble it up, and I don't get it. How so many people buy into it so much.
No, I don't know how many people are buying it, but the one that actually matters.
People showed up this weekend. They buy.
No,
into
I know, but the one that really matters that buys it is John Stanton. That's you can't get him to buy it year after year after year, and yet that's what happens. And for the longest time, I wanted to give Jerry a break on his hands being tied because he can only spend so much in the off season. But how many teams? I meant to do this research, and I apologize that I didn't. But how many teams made the playoffs this year that had lower payrolls than the Mariners? So you can't really use that as an excuse for the Mariners, falling short this year. So
well, Kansas City had a lower payroll. Milwaukee had a lower payroll. Baltimore had a lower payroll. Cleveland had a lower payroll. Detroit had a lower payroll.
Okay.
So there you go. So all of you people that want to defend him and say, and I do think it's part of the problem that they don't spend more. Okay, but they do spend at 16th in baseball, which is middle of the pack. He doesn't spend it wisely.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to spend it on position players. And sorry for my voice. I'm sick and it's voices. I'm losing my voice.
You're fine.
By the end of this, it's going to be gone.
No, and I love all the guys in town. I love Jude and everybody who covers the team, Divish, everybody. I do. But
here's a big but.
But come on, man. After a while, I mean, that was a spoof press conference I did. But honest to God, there has to be someone that says, somebody just has, and say it nicer than I would. Like I don't have any, what do you call it? Not filter.
Couth? No.
Couth. Yeah, I don't ask questions very well. There's a way you can ask a tough question without coming off like a jackass. And I always tend to gravitate toward the jackass part. So then, when you're a jackass, nobody wants to answer the question, but there's a nicer way of putting it. But, I just like why can't somebody just say, hey, Jerry, God, with all due respect, always throw in with all due respect, even though you don't respect the guy anymore, but act like you do. So you throw that in, right. And then you kind of go, with all due respect, the offense this year, you set a record for strikeouts the second year in a row. Jerry, the Mariners have been around since 1977. They've never had a worse average than the 224 that your team trotted out there this year.
My little league team
and then while
better.
all this was happening, your pitching staff gave up the fewest runs in the American League. So how can you justify, keeping your job? And just kind of do it like that.
But see,
but don't be a jackass about it like I would be.
But that's why I want to get back to this end of the year press conference and people saying, well, it's other teams don't do this. He didn't even divulge yesterday or on Saturday whether or not he's coming back or not. Did you know that?
Was he asked?
No.
I mean, well, then he didn't have to.
But I'm just saying though, like, that's why you have to have a season-ending press conference. So there's just more people there because things get missed. I mean, you just, you've been there 100 times before. You got a million things going on to ask and things get lost. But that's why you have to have a press conference at the end of the year. So other people, whether it's you, whether it's me, whether it's the TV stations there, other reporters that get to come in and go like, hey, man, you still have yet to confirm, are you coming back next season? Because all we have is just the terrific reporting from Jude and Divish that he is. No confirmation yet from him. Zero confirmation given this weekend. No confirmation from the ownership group whether or not he's coming back. And then there's the other. They don't want to be accountable. So John Staton needs to sit up there and go, why is he coming back? Why? And then you can ask Dipoto the same question. Why do you think you're coming back?
Yeah, that's fair.
That's a fair question. After 9 years, you've made one postseason appearance with 2 playoff wins in 9 years. Why does this ownership group have confidence that in the 10th year you'll be able to do it? And then my question too, then I'll shut up, is to Stanton, if he doesn't get it done in the 10th year, is there an 11th year? Is there a 12th year? Like how much longer are we going to kick this down the road for this guy?
No, those are all fair questions, I think. And, typically Jerry, though, would probably say, if you said, are you coming back next year? He would say, yeah, why wouldn't I be? And then the follow-up would be, well, because your contract ends at the end of this season. Isn't that, we know that, right? Don't we know that?
Well, I mean, that was not really. That was vague because they're vague as an organization. It was wildly believed and reported that, yes, that this was the last year of his deal, and so was the last year of Service's deal. But again, they don't go on the record with anything, and they've yet to go on the record. I know Divish has asked them, and I would assume Jude too, they've asked them to ownership group to go on record, and they won't go on record with it.
Yeah,
Why?
Somebody needs to come out with that.
What are you scared of? Why, if you're scared to tell the public, your audience, the people that showed up, 40,000 people yesterday, if you're scared to tell them, hey, he's coming back and we gave him 2 years. And if you're scared that you're so scared to put the president of your team in front of a camera, if you're scared of those two things, why is he coming back?
Yeah, fair enough. I can't imagine another organization. I was thinking about it too. Like, think about any line of work. Like, if you're in sales and you have 8 out of 9 years, like Jerry Dipoto's had as a baseball general manager, would you still have your job? Hell, you wouldn't have lasted this long. Or whatever line of work you're doing. Like if we had shitty ratings or whatever for 8 out of 9 years, do you think we'd still have well, wait a minute, I don't have a job anyway.
Yeah, well, so, they made that decision.
Never mind that analogy. I kind of butchered that one, just like Jerry did at the press conference last year. But no, and I was also thinking, like, how can you? So, like, these last 5 weeks were good, but they weren't good enough. And what, like, all of a sudden, do we think Dan Wilson and Edgar Martinez are the answer because they came in? Shit, Puck, you and I could have come in and just said, hey, guys, I know we've given you all this analytics and we've given you all these forms and all these spreadsheets and everything, but you know what? See ball, hit ball. Let's go. I mean, that's basically what Edgar's telling them.
That's what they did, and that's what Edgar is saying.
If Edgar doesn't want to come back because he wants to be with his family and all that shit, I mean, hire me, pay me what you were going to pay Edgar, and I'll show up at the ballpark.
How about the both of us?
Can Tucker doesn't shit on the infield.
No, we want
Tucker. I will also say see ball, hit ball, and let's go, fellas.
And then we're going to be in those uniforms, in those tight fitting uniforms. We'll look terrible in it, and then you'll say see ball, hit ball, and then I'll just steal the Tony Gwynn. Hey, fellas, all we're going to do is we want to be balanced, and we want to take the knob of the bat to the ball. That's all we're working on. Hands to the ball. Jesus. I'm kind of with you on the whole Edgar thing, and we all love Edgar, but
no, we always have to say that. Let's make sure we say that.
But it really is.
We love Dan Wilson too. We have to say that.
It really is simple little league baseball. It really is. See the ball, hit the ball. Nothing earth-shattering there.
I'm not so sure I'm in on Dan Wilson, to be honest.
Oh,
I mean, do we like automatically think because he's a good guy and he's been around?
I don't know. I don't know if he's a good manager. I have no idea if he's a good manager. I saw 30 games of him.
Yeah, I don't know. I want Jerry to be out, and then you bring in someone like what he was talking about. We're trying to figure out a different way, a different message, and I'm just thinking, how about having a different guy leading the whole shebang, and maybe we would have a different message and a different way to get things done around here.
Didn't you find that, though, revealing? It's a different message, not a different philosophy, a different message. It's your philosophy. Well, I don't
know if I read that much into it.
Well, I read way too much. But
I got to admit something to you, and everything's completely unfiltered with me. When I saw that, I thought to myself, I remember when Mike Salk stood in front of us over at 710, and he was talking about different things they were doing with their show and how it was going to be better for the rest of the station as a result of what they were doing.
So we're going to get all the guests. So we'll have Schneider and Dipoto.
Right.
All the money's going to be spent on our show, but it's going to make everybody else. We're going to raise everybody else up, right?
Yes, exactly. And God, I just still kicked myself. And, so we're going to do things differently, but it's going to be for the greater good of everyone else. Standing in front of everybody, and everybody's like, yeah, Mike, that sounds great. God, I still kick myself because I should have raised my hand. I thought, well, you're talking about a bunch of different things you want to do. Have you thought about trying different hosts and see how that works? And I just wish I had done that. I probably would have been fired on the spot.
Oh, well. But, you were fired eventually, so why not?
That's what I thought about with Jerry. Don't you want a different guy leading the show? I mean, you want a different guy. You don't want – I don't want his different message bullshit, Just give me something different as a leader, like Tonto. I'll take Tonto, your apprentice, Let's get him out there. Let's see what he can do.
I think there's a lot, and I think you have to acknowledge this. There's a lot of good that he's done. He has made the organization better. I just don't think he's the guy. He had mentioned a quote there. I'm going to paraphrase how we're a good baseball team, but we haven't yet to figure out a way to get to be great, to be World Series great. That's what I don't think he can do. I think he lacks that. So, I mean, I think there's someone else that can take the next step. I thought about this real quick. I thought about this. It's a little college football analogy in a way. Steve Sarkisian came in right after Willingham, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. They're down in the dumps. Sark comes in. Probably in his life, he's not ready to be a head coach. Okay, where everything was going on in his life, but he's a good head coach. He's a good coach, but he brought them back up to respectability. But he probably was not the guy that was going to get them to that next level, right? With everything that was going on. And then Peterson comes in and he is. Peterson's that guy. And then Peterson took him to the next level. What are you going to say? Just
wait a minute. Are you talking about Steve Sarkisian that's the coach of the #1 team in the country?
Well, I'm saying at that point in his life, he wasn't the right guy. At that point. Well, I mean, he was a different person.
I don't mean to rain on your parade, Puck. Well, I kind of did mean to.
Well, no, but hold on. He went elsewhere and failed after that.
Yeah.
He failed immediately after Washington. I'm just saying at the point in his life, he wasn't ready to be the guy.
Yeah.
But he got Washington up to, he raised them out of the Willingham mess. I think Dipoto's raised them out of, the mess that they were in. I just don't think he's the guy that's going to push them over the edge. He's not a winner. He didn't win anything.
Here's what I was going to say. When guys like you and me, and you admit that you're an idiot, I admit that I'm an idiot, okay? But we do follow baseball, and we love baseball.
Raise your hand if you're an idiot.
But anybody who's just a casual baseball fan, you don't have to be steeped in the knowledge of barrel rates and any of that stuff. I think most of us that are Mariner fans, what they did in the offseason last year and this year, we kind of looked at it and went, it just didn't seem good enough. And, that's easy to say in hindsight. Well, no, everyone was saying that at the time it was happening. The Tommy La Stella era, Colton Wong, all these guys they brought in. I thought Polanco would be better than he has been. And I didn't know if Raley would be as good as he was. But, I mean, so there's some things that Jerry was right about. I mean, but like Polanco, I mean, he should have been better than what he was. And he just wasn't, and they heated up toward the end. But most of us, I think, knew that it wouldn't be good enough. And then, again, the worst part is just squandering that all-time staff that you had.
And who knows?
Nothing out of it.
And then who knows what happens next season? You're banking on a group that relatively, was able to stay healthy, and maybe they'll do it again. And you got them under cost control. But this idea of they're going to go out and start spending a bunch of money on free agents again. I just remind people. I mean, they're going to up their payroll, and this is what they're going to do. They're going to take credit for their payroll next season when they don't add a bunch of free agents. They're gonna be asked a question about not adding to the payroll in free agency. But what they're gonna come back to is like, oh, yes, we did. We just increased our payroll. Yeah, but that's your own guys, and that's arbitration. And you knew that was gonna happen.
You had to plan for that.
You had a plan for. You knew that was gonna happen. You knew Kirby was gonna be up. You knew Gilbert was gonna make more money. You knew Raleigh was gonna make more money. All that. You don't get credit for that. That's not what people are talking about. People are talking about going out and dare to dream, be a real suitor for Juan Soto, which they're not going to be, right? They're not going to be that. But you who are the free agents out there? Well, it's not a great class. There are some guys out there, but they're not going to get Juan Soto. They're not going to be a suitor for Paul Goldschmidt. They're not going to dip their toes back into Teoscar Hernandez. They're not going to go after Pete Alonso, Alex Bregman, third baseman. They're not going to get any of those guys. They're going to pay them. And everyone knows that.
No, and he told us a few years ago that they would pay when they got to the right time in their program.
But he's a bullshitter.
No, I know.
It just is.
He has been from day one, really. I used to think that, God, that's pretty cool how candid he is, but it's just, And then, you know, you hear things about him behind the scenes. And I can't imagine. I was thinking about it. You know, I've been fired twice. I wish I'd had him as my consultant, and somehow I would have kept my jobs probably. That guy, I mean, it's amazing. He's a magician, what he's doing.
He's great.
He would have been laughed out of New York how long ago?
You know, I'm surprised by maybe not the fans that we probably interact more with on social media than anything. I'm surprised with, like, of the thousands that went this weekend that they don't demand more. I really am surprised by that.
So were there signs? Were there paper bags? Were there anything?
You know what I saw, and which was so ironic. I saw a bunch of A's fans yesterday with sell the team T-shirts, thinking, huh. And then they showed that. They showed that on TV. Yeah, but I didn't see too many of hey, John Stanton, sell the team, or we need new ownership. But they have just done an amazing job of making it feel relevant without all going all the way in. And I think that's the troubling thing with them. Look at how many people showed up this weekend for 3 games when there's nothing to play for. Just, if you invest more into your team, you are going to get 45,000 a night all the time. They just want to win.
2001, isn't that what they got?
Yeah.
I mean, you would get a sellout. You'd have a sellout for a crummy, opponent on a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
So, and the franchise value keeps going up year after year. So you're making money hand over fist there. It's just, it just wouldn't fly in other markets. It just wouldn't fly. I don't know how it flies here, but sounds like it's going to fly for a few more years with Jerry.
I don't know. What do you think it is? Do you think it's transplants? You think it's because people haven't lived, like, it's from the crowd that moved here like 10 years ago or something? I'm honestly trying to figure it out. What do you think it is? New baseball fans that move here and, hey, we'll pick up a sport and let's pick up baseball because it's fun. I mean, honestly, I really don't know.
Maybe. It seems like did you watch any of the games this weekend? I didn't.
I didn't watch a single second of any of the games.
I didn't either. It just didn't even occur to me because the games didn't matter anymore.
Just was not worth it for me.
And of course they win when the games don't matter. I don't know what the answer is. And you're right. Nothing's going to happen this week. Unless it's, something that Divish and Jude report, find out from sources that,
I would just ask them why are they so afraid to just formally announce that he's coming back? What are they afraid of?
Backlash.
Well, they just had 116,000 people turn out. They can't be that much backlash.
Yeah.
Not with those attendance numbers. And dropping hot dogs from the sky and all that. I mean, they ditched the Macklemore song. I saw that. They didn't announce that. They just ditched it.
Yeah.
They didn't play that one.
No, they can't come up with a good reason or two to bring it back is why they don't want to go public with it.
Just say we don't agree with this. Agree with what he said. It's over. We're not going to play the song anymore. It's not hard.
No, I was talking about Dipoto.
Oh.
I was talking about Dipoto.
Oh, sorry. I got caught up in Macklemore. Dipoto? It's easy. We you know what? We feel confident in the direction Jerry Dipoto is taking us. We know that many of you are frustrated with how this season went, but we believe better times are ahead. We believe that he's the guy to lead us there. That's all I got to say. It's not hard. I just wrote it for you. I wrote it for you in 15 seconds.
I know, but how can you sit there as a reporter, though, and just go, well, hey, John, how can you believe that based on his track record? I mean, again, how can – I mean, John Stanton's a smart man, isn't he? How can he continue to buy that?
I mean, I don't know, my friend. I don't know. Yeah. Are you putting your money? What are you putting your money down on tonight? You got the Hawks plus the 3.5.
Yeah, I got the Hawks in 3.5. I'll probably sprinkle a little more on 4 and just hope that Gino goes off on him like he has in the past.
He's torched them.
And just act like those defensive linemen that are out won't be that much of a factor, even though I'm thinking that it might be. Might be a good night to go over on the game. 46.5.
What is it?
46.5.
Oh yeah. Let's take the over.
You like the Hawks and the points too, or no?
I like the Hawks and the points, and I like the over. Yeah,
Okay.
I do. Yeah, I mean, I think. Listen, they haven't had no Wosu, so I'm not going to factor that in. I mean, I think not having Murphy and Leonard Williams is going to be a huge factor with Gibbs and Montgomery. I mean, this is the best rushing attack that they are going to face this season. I mean, the Seahawks, they're ranked 15th in rushing yards allowed. Patriots punished them, earlier this season without two of these guys, 36 carries, 185 yards. And, on the back end, right, Goff with St. Brown and Williams and Laporta's going to play. I mean, they're more of a threat in the passing game than anything that the Patriots had. So, I just think that, it's going to be a shootout. If they're going to win, it's going to be like it's been the last few times where Seattle's going to have to win a shootout. And you just mentioned Geno's proved that he can win a shootout. He's had phenomenal numbers playing against Detroit and phenomenal numbers, especially playing indoors.
How about that matchup, though, with the third string right tackle against the best pass rusher in the league?
Well, I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
It'll look kind of Coug-like on Saturday night, probably, for Geno. I mean, the guy's got 6.5 sacks through what, 3 games?
Yeah.
What will his total be tonight? You think he gets 1.5?
Yeah, but this,
2?
Sure. But River. But we also, it's one of those things where we say, oh man, Aiden Hutchinson's going to eat Stone Forsythe alive tonight, right? And watch him do nothing.
Hey, you know what? This is when you need to say, so you'll sound smart, they need to keep the tight end there to help Forsythe, or
chip
have
block.
The running back chip the guy.
You got to chip him. You got it. Hey,
you need to chip. You always need to chip that guy.
Hey, tonight when we Interbay Eagles, Interbay! When we have our
Eagles!
Team, there you go. When we have our team pictures tonight, I'm going to tell all the coaches that, what I would do tonight? I would, like we should have done last Saturday against Everett. We should keep our back in and chip.
Yeah, they always say that. On the all 30, they just look at how he chipped in there.
How about some screens? Can we get a good screen game going? Screen game helps a team with a good pass rush, Jim.
Yeah. Ken Walker's back.
Kenny Walker's back. Yeah. Do you think Genty has got a little Ken Walker in him? I think Genty's a little bit more shiftier, though. A little bit more explosive than Walker.
God, that hurt our Heisman Trophy bet, didn't it?
Mateer's taking a hit, and Ward keeps skyrocketing. For God, Jesus.
Yeah.
How about that decision? Did you see where College Game Day is going this week?
Are they going to Cal?
Yeah.
Are they?
They're going to Cal and Miami.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Cal. Cal won't even sell out for that game.
No. No one's going to be there. No one's ever
Cal's
there.
Not going to care. But hey, Miami of Florida is coming this week.
Oh, we got to go. You think Cal students who don't give a shit about football are going to show up at 6 a.m. for College Game Day?
They'll find enough to make it look like it's packed or something.
But they'll are there hobos? You know what I would do? I would start rounding up all the hobos in Berkeley and San Francisco and just bring them, just so so College Game Day can show the rest of the country. Here's what it looks like. Look at that hobo. He's peeing himself right now. That hobo's doing meth over there. Is that person stealing a car? That's what they should do.
They're really going to Cal?
Yes. I thought it was a joke.
I was bummed out when they didn't pick our game. The panel didn't pick our game this week.
Well, thank God they didn't.
I mean, Boise State and Washington State, that was a pretty big game.
Well, the Snake River shootout, baby.
Hey, I'm going to write a column in the next week or two on Lee Corso. And, we love – okay, again, here we go again. We all love Lee Corso.
What are you going to
say? But there has to be a time when that it's – that you should maybe hang it up. No, I don't want to say hang it up, but I don't know. It's a delicate situation, but man, it's getting tough to watch.
I did not watch. I'll be honest with you. I've been turned off by it this year, and it's not like I haven't watched it, but I didn't really watch a lot of it this week. Was it especially bad this week?
There's just and kind of rich of me to say about the mistakes being made on the
he's
air,
old. He's
but
just old, right?
yeah, and had a stroke, and God,
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but God, there just reaches a point where you need to move on, and maybe I shouldn't write that. I don't know. I don't know. Don't we all reach a point, when you get to an age where you're going, God, maybe that, and I've talked about that before. You got to know when it's time to hang it up.
Here's what I would say. My advice to you. I would think it, and I think you're right thinking it. I wouldn't write it.
Okay.
I think this is what he wants to do. I don't know. Did he lose his wife too recently, or am I misremembering that? Or
I don't know about that.
this is what, Jim, this is what he's got in his life. It's college game day. This is his family. This is what he likes to do. And I think what they're doing, despite the mistakes, despite him probably he shouldn't be up there anymore, is it hurting anybody? It's not hurting anybody. Not hurting their ratings. I think I just saw something on TV. Their ratings are through the roof for it this year. They're killing the big noon kickoff. So it's not hurting them.
Yeah, for as much as you don't like McAfee, I mean, he adds to it. Saban's been good this year too.
Saban is great. I mean, I like McAfee. I just didn't like when he took a shot at us. But Saban's been great. He's solid. I mean, the guy that they could ditch is Howard. They don't need Desmond Howard. Desmond Howard could be off the show. Desmond Howard is not adding anything to that show at all.
Nah. God, and then Herb Street, he's everywhere now.
Yeah.
God, even doing the Amazon games on Thursday night. So
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't write it. Don't write it. Pull off and don't put that down on paper. I don't think we need that. But again, and when we talk on Wednesday, can you please just have the exact Jim Moore, whatever the Substack is, please?
Okay, I'll try and find that out.
Substack Jim Moore, whatever it's titled.
Because I appreciate you trying to promote that.
Well, I'm trying to promote it.
Is it okay? I'm going on with Rooftop Joe tomorrow. Is that all right?
Oh, another appearance with Rooftop Joe?
Yeah, he changed his name though. It's something else now.
You can do whatever you want. Love Rooftop Joe.
I'll promote your PuckSports.
Well, last time you promoted on Rooftop Joe, you promoted. He went right past it. He didn't have a single thing to say about that. He kept promoting that you were on 710.
I'll correct him tomorrow.
You don't got to correct him. We've went almost an hour. Jim Duquette's going to join me here in a few minutes. We went a whole hour without you taking a shot at the Huskies. Have they come back from Rutgers yet, or are they still en route?
Okay, I got to admit that usually I enjoy every single Husky loss, and I did enjoy that one too, but not as much as I normally would have because I felt bad for the kicker.
Oh, you felt bad for Grady Gross? Well, I get it.
Yeah, I did. I just, the dad in me, the nice human being in me, I just thought, God, if I was Grady Gross's dad or girlfriend or whatever, God, that was tough. I mean, it was just, he missed 3 field goals the last, and there was a part of me that was hoping he was going to make that last field goal and send it to overtime.
And then lose in overtime?
Yeah, and then I wanted them to lose in overtime, but for him, it would have been better if they had made it. Yeah, so that took away from my enjoyment. But
because
I did,
he's getting crapped on a lot on social media, guaranteed.
Yeah, I remember when Drew Dunning missed a field goal at Notre Dame.
Oh
shit! There were death threats for that kid.
Well,
you remember that?
on his apartment door.
Yeah. God, he's a college kid who happened to miss a kick.
Yeah.
So yeah, Grady Gross. I hope he's doing okay.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. You don't ever want to see one player be the cause of, or have a real huge hand in it of why they lost the game. And
he'd been really good up until then. I think he was 6 or 7.
And then I feel bad for the kid. I feel bad for the kid that ran on the field on the block.
Oh yeah, that too. They scored on the next play.
But this is what I can't wait to talk to. It's funny because on the last Puck the Huskies with Elise and Jordan, they talked about 2 things: undisciplined and special teams. That was their 2 major points, and then that just came to light on Friday. That's the most undisciplined football team that there is right now, and that's coaching. That's all of it.
God, that
All
Rutgers
coaching.
team is terrible too. I've
They're
never
not even
seen
that good.
that team sucks.
Yeah, they're not good. They're
And
not
they
good
not
at
only
all.
suck, they're no fun to watch. God, what a
Boring.
boring squad that is.
What was it? Are you surprised they're favorites against Michigan?
Yeah, I've already taken Michigan at
They're
3.
favored by 3.
Yeah. Michigan's just going to run, and run some more, right?
Yeah, but what do they know, though? Okay, they know that, though. But I mean, come on, home teams already get 3, so they almost think
I
they're
don't
a
get it.
touchdown favorite against them.
I thought Michigan should have been a 3 or 4 point favorite anyway, but man, I no idea, Puck. But yeah, that line jumped out to me too.
Okay. All right, we'll cut you loose. You're the best. Hey, Wednesday, when you come back on Wednesday, special appearance, we're going to be joined by Rob Staton, SeahawksDraftBlog.com, because Rob, because of the schedule with Monday Night Football, normally we would talk to Rob. We would record Rob and play it Tuesday, but it's not going to work out with Monday Night Football and everything that's going on. So then Rob's like, I'll come on Wednesday, but we'll do it live. So he's going to be on with us live, starting at 10.
Rob Staton from across the pond?
And he can't wait to see you. He says, it's been too – I can't wait to see you. Puck, I see you. Well, I can't wait to see Jim Moore.
Sometimes when I'm out on the trail with the dogs, sometimes I'm like, come on, Cougs. And sometimes I'm going, Puck. I just practice saying Puck, like Rob Staton.
Puck. All right, you're the best. See you Wednesday.
Yeah, take care, man. See you. Go
there
Cougs.
He is. Go Cougs. There he is, Jim Moore, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with us as we talk all things sports. All right, let's talk a little baseball. We're going to put the finishing touches. We're going to put the finishing touches on the baseball season with our good buddy, Jim Duquette. Jim Duquette, he joins us every week, former Mets and Orioles GM, current host of MLB Network Radio, Sirius XM. A Monday visit brought to you by Flat Stick Pub. Perfect night spot for a date night, guys night, ladies night, large group event. You can visit one of their 6 great locations across the Northwest at flatstickpub.com. This is it. This is the last visit. I don't like it, Jim Duquette.
Goes fast, man. It goes fast. The season goes fast, Buck. I can't even believe that we're into the postseason starting tomorrow. I'm excited about it, but like we're game 162, except for right now, there's game 161 and 162 for 2 teams, the Mets and the Braves. But yeah, I can't. Season's over.
So as we're doing this right now, it's so if people are listening later, just on the podcast, the Braves are leading the Mets 2-0. They're in the 4th inning. They're playing a doubleheader today. It doesn't behoove any of these teams to sweep them. Like, it doesn't benefit them. All right. But so if, let's say, the Braves hold on to win, what do they do in game 2? Do they go bullpen by committee? How do they handle it?
So they go bullpen by committee, and Chris Sale's the guy that they have. He's their best pitcher all season. He's probably going to be the Cy Young winner in the National League, but they're not going to use him. They're going to use him for game 1 tomorrow. Right. In that scenario you talked about. So yeah, they go bullpen. They go non-bullpen guys that will be in the mix for tomorrow. So it's a huge advantage for the Mets in game 2, and really it really puts Arizona, who's the 3rd team in this mix, at a disadvantage. If the Mets get swept, Arizona sneaks in through the side door, which is how they kind of got in the postseason last year and made that great run to the World Series. And they had a better season than they did last year, but they could be on the outside looking in. The Mets will have their best pitch, one of their best pitchers, Luis Severino, obviously former Yankees, had a really good year, and he's going to pitch in game 2 if the Mets lose, which would give them a leg up against the Braves. Because again, if I'm Atlanta, I'm not starting my key guys. Any of my starters that are going to, they need a break for tomorrow. It's like, I'm not starting Michael Harris. I'm not starting, maybe you start Marcell Ozuna, but Ozzie Albies isn't getting in. Any of those key, Matt Olson, who plays every single day, I wouldn't start him. I think they all get that game off in the second half here. Second game.
How do you balance that, though? I mean, does one of these teams, let's say it's Atlanta, do they owe it to baseball? Do they owe it to Arizona to try and win? Or you're like, nope, they only owe it to themselves. They have to look out for number 1, and that's it.
They made a decision. I'll answer that question. It's a really good question. By just look at how they made their pitching decisions from Saturday until tomorrow. They had Chris Sale on extra days rest, and he lost some velocity his last start, so they were giving him extra rest. But Max Fried pitched Friday. They put Ronaldo Lopez, who had been on the injured list for 15 days. He pitched Saturday, pitched really well. They had a chance to not even play today if they started Chris Sale yesterday against the Kansas City team who had nothing to play for, right? They're just playing out the season because they're playing against the Orioles tomorrow. They could have started Chris Sale, and they wouldn't even be in this situation because if as it turned out, now we know it with hindsight, but if the Braves and the Mets won, they weren't playing today. That eliminated Arizona from the mix. So they're playing a long game in this, and a part of the long game is you can't play your guys in the second game of this doubleheader if you win game one. They've already told you what what they think. They're trying to make these decisions based on, hey, we're going to advance past the wild card and into the DS hopefully this weekend.
Yeah, well, it'll be fun kind of watch how it all plays out, and it's fascinating to watch the game taking place right now. All right, let's get to the Mariners. They get in the last game on the last series of the year, Jim, and it means nothing, obviously, because they're eliminated from the postseason. Let's just start. This is very open-ended. What went wrong for them this year?
I mean, it seems simplistic to say it was solely the offense, but for the most part, it was. I mean, if you look at all of the offensive numbers, now it's been better. I was just looking at this under Dan Wilson, 19 and 13. Maybe they should have made, and again, we have the ability of hindsight now, sure, right? So it's fair to say maybe they should have made a decision sooner. Maybe there was some things going on behind the scenes that we didn't know about within the clubhouse, within the makeup of the team. Certainly, we know on the offensive side that the organization told us what went wrong. They're on the third hitting coach, so. I think that's the easiest way to do it. I think, bigger picture, Julio struggling for as long as he did, that's the biggest problem for me because you have all of this money invested in him for him to be that, have that poor of a season overall. Got to figure out a way for him to figure it out. We talked about this plenty along the way. Those are just, I think, for me, some of it. Injuries are always going to happen. I think the biggest thing that concerns me about next year is you had career seasons in a lot of ways with the pitching. It's hard to repeat that next year. It just is. Logan Gilbert leads the league in innings pitched. And I know it's not a ton of innings by comparison to what we're used to 10 years ago, 15 years ago. He didn't go 230, 240, 250 or more innings. Still logged a lot of innings, and that's at max effort. And guys like that they had, now they got to go out and try to repeat it next year, which is not that easy to do. As good as they are, it's not that easy.
Yeah, and then it just, he gives this press conference. I want to ask you about this because I'm just curious on. I mean, I have my opinion. I think there's a lot of people in Seattle have their opinion on this one. I didn't like what happened this weekend. He holds an impromptu press conference. He hasn't talked really to the media a bunch this year, and he does an impromptu press conference Saturday in the dugout. There's no formal press conference at the end of the season for them. That was it. Something he called together a select few reporters that only knew 25 minutes or so before, and then did his press conference. You think that's how an ownership group and an organization should handle something like for an end of the year, especially for a team that had so many expectations placed on them for this season to hold that press conference in a dugout?
It's certainly the area that you're most comfortable on the baseball side of things, but it's for me, it's too informal. I think your fan base deserves more than that. And maybe it's not necessarily a full-blown press conference like they did last year, because we know that didn't go very well. So I think you also have to take that into consideration a little bit. And not every team has end of season sit downs, with, an extended media presence. He could have, said, and I think partly this is a control thing, right? So you're speaking to the people that are there on a regular basis, not bringing in, outside media members, let's say, that aren't there on a regular basis. I'm sure there was some kind of control to that as well. But I do think that, there was, I think, a little bit more formal setting would have been appropriate, even if it was, you have a press conference set up, a table that's set up inside, and you're there as the manager and the general manager and maybe the owner too, where you're answering questions for whoever showed up that last day.
I mean, think about this, Jim. They've still yet to formally acknowledge that he's back next year. He didn't even address it this weekend. I mean, they're all we have is a report from two great reporters, Ryan Divish and Adam Jude of the Seattle Times. So, I mean, obviously it's correct, but we don't even have it confirmed by the organization that he truly is back. And then I think by not having a formal press conference, it doesn't allow people to ask the owner who writes the checks, why is he back? 9 years, one playoff appearance. It's a legitimate question. Sure. What made you decide to bring him back for a 10th year? And you don't get that because they haven't even acknowledged that he's coming back yet.
Yeah. And I think that's fascinating because if you look around the game, we've seen some announcements even today, right? Cardinals are out there announcing a change in their front office, and they've had 2 losing seasons. So they're going to do something there. They just fired the president of baseball operations of San Francisco Giants, Farhan Zaidi, and named Buster Posey the president of baseball operations. They did that about 30 minutes ago, right? In Minnesota, after their collapse, the fans were chanting "Fire Rocco Baldelli," chanting "Fire Rocco" during the game. So they forced them to come out and say that their head of baseball ops and Rocco are going to return next year. So around the sport, you're seeing those type of situations when there's a question mark. And to be fair, there is a question mark there around this front office. Even if it meant it may not satisfy everybody, but even if you sent out a press release, they're coming back. Maybe that's coming. I don't know, but maybe that's forthcoming in the next week or two. I don't know. It's weird though how they operate up there. Sometimes.
You don't even know. I mean, honestly, I think there's still some people in this town that are still uncertain. Like, is Dan Wilson the manager next year?
That's a fair question.
Even though what Dipoto said it like in the Zoom press conference. This is not an interim label. He's the manager, but I still think there's some gray area. Well, how long? I mean, is it a 2-year deal? Like, how long is he the manager for? And still not really formally addressed by this ownership group.
Well, and I'll tell you, the thing that to me is, I'd be offended if I were a fan of this. I understand what they're trying to do, but it's against what is done within the industry. Is they're trying to control the narrative. Everyone tries to do that, right? But they're not forthcoming when we didn't even find out that Jerry Dipoto signed a long-term extension this summer until several months later. That's odd in itself. And usually, even if you don't want to discuss the terms, you say, listen, we came to an agreement. We've extended the president, our head of baseball operations, for another a number of years. You do it, within that time period. You do it on your own terms and decide to issue a press release in that way. Somebody is resistant to this. It's and I think there's probably a combination of both, because this is these are public companies. Even though the owners don't feel this way, there is it's a public trust that you owe your fan base these answers. And I think if you took that mindset, you'd be better off than not. And they seem to be taking the exact opposite tone and tact.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they're all public assets, all of it. The public own. I mean, again, I get it. They own the team, but it's the public's team. It's the community's team. It's the city's team. And, on top of that, it's this community built that stadium with their money.
Right.
So they are owed, I think, some explanations. All right. I mean, there's a lot that went into what happened this season. I guess we turn now to what could they possibly do. He did say that, hey, we feel our outfield is set. That we know, with a Rosarina, obviously Julio and Robles were good. We need upgrades on the infield. One thing he kind of passed it off is like, we're not that far away. I don't know, Jim. I mean, you have a whole third base, second base, first base, DH, and I think you can make a real argument whether or not you truly are sold on your shortstop for the future. I mean, so there's 4 spots there. That seems
almost
like
the entire infield.
It is almost the entire infield. So I just like how do when you have to replace almost your entire infield. When you hear someone say we feel like we're not that far off, how do you react to that?
Well, there's 9 guys on the field, 8 if you don't count the pitcher. Half of the team has got to be adjusted. That's a lot of players, and I think what he's trying to say. So you're not moving Crawford,
right?
He's there realistically, and you want him to get back to what he's capable of, but every other position, and we go back to conversations we had about first base. That to me is the likely scenario that they're going to upgrade. That it will cost the least, because they do have supposedly some payroll flexibility. I look at committed dollars and from this past year to next year, and there's not a lot there, but I'm looking at committed dollars of about a little bit above 100 million off of 165 that they had committed this year. And that off of that, I'm not picking up Polanco's option. There's no way there. Turner's not coming back. So those are the 2 that stand out for me right out of the gate. But you do have money to spend on a first baseman, and the market's going to be pretty good, I think, between Alonso, Christian Walker, Reese Hoskins. Those are 3 off the top of my head. Now,
Goldschmidt,
Goldie, thank you. That's another one. So St. Louis, the Mets, Houston, they're going to all need first baseman. So you're going to have some competition there, but not all those guys had good seasons. And I think that you can find a power hitting first baseman there that won't cost you, $150 to $200 million, which seems to be outside of their budget, even though it shouldn't be.
Let me make a case for why I don't believe when they talk about payroll flexibility, and why I don't think that they'll be all that active in the free agent market. And again, we'll play this back next year when we talk, and I'm wrong, but they've got, they're going to keep, they said they're going to keep a Rosarino. Well, he made $8 million last year. He's in arbitration. What does that jump to? 12?
He had I'd say an average year, so may not jump that much, but it's going to go up. Yeah. It might be between 10 and 11. Yeah. But still it's high. Yeah.
Cal Raleigh made $795,000. He's in the first year of his eligibility. He's going to win a Gold Glove. Well, he should, and he's going to win a Silver Slugger, which he should. Yep. So what does he go to?
First year arbitration might be $4 million, somewhere in that range. It's going up. Yeah, it's good. It's a good bump. It's not a lot, but it's a good bump.
Gilbert was 4 this year. Gilbert goes to what?
7.
Okay. Kirby was same thing as Raleigh, $790,000, so minimum wage. He goes to 4.
3.5 to 4. Yeah.
Okay. Julio jumps up. His contract goes from 11.9 to 19.9.
Yeah.
So
there's another 8. Yeah.
Again,
so
there's all this money. It adds up real fast. And then you're like, where's all the money? Like, again, this was an organization last year that was shedding payroll. Their TV deal didn't get any better in the last year. Nothing's been resolved on that. So how am I supposed to believe with all these guys coming up that they're going to then go out and pay Alonso or Walker or somebody else all this money to come here?
Right. No, I think that's fair. I think that, the number they settled on this year was 165 roughly. I think that it's hard to imagine it would be higher than that. I think that that's probably the max. If you look at where they were this past year, attendance wise, I don't know. You would know better than me. Where did they go attendance wise?
They
were a little bit
down. They were down, but not like 5% down, but not.
Okay, so that's not horrible. I don't see them reducing the payroll by 5%. That's negligible. So it's but I don't see it going up. I guess my point is, if you had a bit of a spike, in the payroll and the attendance, you could justify. Or if the prices go up, it's hard to change. It's hard to charge more prices when you don't get higher prices when you don't go to the postseason. So they're kind of in flux here. That, like you said, their TV deal isn't getting any clearer. So they don't have more money to spend. It's unfortunately, when I was in these situations, the owner comes and say, you know what, you're going to be payroll neutral, and in this case that might be a victory because of what happened last year. But if that is the case, And all of those pay raises as we just kind of walk through, that's not going to leave an awful lot for the other areas. It's not just first base, as you said, that they need to upgrade. They need upgrades throughout.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the unrestricted free agent list at second base. We got Gleyber Torres, Brandon Drury.
Right.
I mean, that's kind
Torres, I could see Torres on a 1-year deal, but here's the problem when you have a 1-year deal is he's going to a place where there's a good offensive hitter's park, so he can go reset himself and go back out on the market if he's out there as a free agent. Guess where he's not picking as his top 3 or 4 choices? T-Mobile. It's just not happening. Like,
he's not going to go to hitter-friendly T-Mobile?
He's not going. You're not going there. No.
And then,
I mean, Edgar. If Edgar has a relationship with any of those guys, that might be convincing. Edgar's got to get involved in some way.
Well, that's going to be a huge offseason storyline. I mean, they're going to try to do everything they can to convince him to come back. I think they'll have to get creative. I think just talking to a few people, who are around it close, I think they don't seem to think that he would be willing to do it full time. That he doesn't want to travel. He doesn't want to go do that. Could he do it like on home games? Yes, and then kind of be in the ear of some of these guys, but to expect him to do it full time, that's probably not going to happen.
Right. And it's hard to convince guys like that to do this full time. It is a grind. That job is really tough. It's thankless. And he could oversee, they could create, be creative and have an oversight, job that would oversee it. And you could do it from a distance. And then, like you said, do home games, certain number of home games. That would be great. Just having him involved would help a ton. He could have impacts just on a one-on-one basis with 3 or 4 guys. You can tell he's already had that impact. So, sure. There's a spot for him somewhere, maybe even if it isn't full time.
What do they have money committed? You mentioned no Polanco, don't pick up the options, $12 million. What do they do with the 2 Mitches? Haniger's $17 million player option that he will obviously exercise, and then they owe Garver $12.5 million. How do you handle those 2 guys?
I mean, there's no out with Haniger. He's in, like you said, he's got that option. I'm looking at it. The AAV is 14.5. AAV only comes into effect when you're talking about the luxury tax number. So they're not near the luxury tax number. It's not a big issue, but you're not going to be able to get rid of him. And Garver, you're hoping that he figured some things out and has a reset next year, but that's looking like dead money. And, you can maybe do a bad money for bad money contract, but those are hard to do, and they're not done as many. We used to do a decent amount of them. A couple a year you would see. They just aren't done as often. And this is one of those where you have to go, okay, it was a bad first year. What are we going to do to help and support him in year 2? That's going to make it better, and that's tricky sometimes, right? Because maybe it's catch a little bit more, and maybe Cal, DHs a little bit more, and they kind of, go feed off of each other that way. But and you're boxing yourself in that DH spot, where you're needing a, full-time first baseman, which again, you could do it that way, but it's hard to rid yourself of bad contracts like that one.
Yeah. That's going to be interesting to how they handle specifically Haniger here in the offseason. He talked about not wanting to get rid of their young pitchers. If I'm not mistaken, he basically bypassed. He named them all, but not Castillo. Do you think Castillo will be moved in the offseason?
I think that they have to if they're going to improve offensively, and they don't have the flexibility on the payroll. I know they said payroll flexibility, but part of that is finding one of your more expensive pitchers and trying to trade him. I think with Castillo, that's the guy that we've talked about this, but sometimes to get out from the money, you take the prospects, or you take a combination. Somebody's got some money they want to move to you. Take a little bit of that and then take some prospects. You should be able to get out from most of the money. It's not a horrible contract. Next year, I think it's 21 mil for the next 3 seasons, 21 and a half, somewhere in that range, from an average annual value contract. So that I think would be easily movable, especially when you look at some of the other starters out there and what they're going to get. I mean, Corbin Burns going to be $200 million easily. Max Fried probably $180 million, somewhere along those lines. So some team out there might say, you know what, I want a pitcher like that, but I don't want to pay all that money. I'll go ahead and trade for Castillo. I think he's the best asset and gives you the most flexibility.
How much can you work around the fact that he has a no trade clause in there?
I think you work with him on that. It basically try to tell, there's plenty of no trade clauses that, it really, the no trade clause is really a, don't trade me to someplace I don't want to go clause. So, like, okay, give me three teams that, that you'd be willing to go to, and we're going to make it work, and then you go back to them. Hey, there's a fourth team that I need you to, consider, because they're interested and we really want to move you. That's, they just like, okay, don't trade me to the Miami Marlins or don't trade me to the White Sox. So they're trying to control that.
All right. Who do you, before I'm going to say, who do you like, what you think's going to happen here in the playoffs? I want to know what does Jim Duquette want to see? What do you want to see, and how do you want these playoffs to shake out?
I generally, I like chaos, so I like the games today. That to me is amazing that we have two games today, even though one of them probably won't be played all that hard. But I'm a big believer. I like in some instances the high profile teams. I think for the sport, getting attention. We've made some strides on the time of game. We've made strides at the youth level. Participation is up over 10% over the last couple of years. Some of the initiatives on the bottom end of the sport are going well. So the time of game's going well. The attendance has been better. I think we need 1 or 2 years of high-profile World Series to bring attention to the casual fan and bring it back to our sport. So I wouldn't mind seeing a Dodgers, Yankees, Phillies, Dodgers. I know it's not necessarily the most popular take, but I think it would be good for our sport.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at what kind of where the sport is, if you're a baseball fan and you like to see brands, right? I mean, I think what would be good for the brand of baseball is, I think you want to see maybe like the Yankees. I mean, you could say Houston, but Yankees and Detroit. But because Detroit has been, it's a proud baseball franchise that's had a rich history, but has been down in the dumps for a long time. And then, of course, I think everybody wants to see the Dodgers and the Phillies, play for the NLCS. And I just think to get eyeballs on it, to make sure that it's the most appealing attraction and star attraction. I mean, it's East Coast, West Coast. Everybody, Rob Manfred will do anything he possibly can in baseball to see the Dodgers play the Yankees. So you can get Ohtani versus Judge and Soto and all of it. That's what you want. That's what you want to see.
That would be the best, most interesting postseason that we've had in a long time. I mean, the Red Sox Dodgers there from what year was that? 19 maybe, I think, when the Red Sox won it. That was high profile. Yeah. I think those are the ones that we're shooting for. Yeah, Atlanta, Houston was good, but it was coming out of COVID. Yeah. So it's not as big as the ones where Ohtani has to be in it, and Judge and Soto, like there you go. There's the marketing right there.
How much pressure is on him in the postseason? He's never been here before. This is a total. This is where these are where he has placed himself in legendary status, but it's regular season. But this is where you go to the next level.
It is. There's a little pressure. Yeah. I mean, I think, for him, just because of the salary, the contract itself, right? That in it's, I think that the good news for him is he's got such a good supporting cast. I mean, you got MVPs everywhere, that it doesn't have to always be about him. And I think that's where he's at his best is, he's been playing, I feel like, almost unrestricted without pressure from the very beginning. And that's why you've seen such a good season for him.
We've loved having you on. It's been a blast this past year. Thank you so much for doing it every single week. Thank you for when we started, it's a different platform.
It's a different platform.
We went from the radio to this, and you jumped on board. You didn't hesitate. You said right when I talked to you 6 months ago, you said, I'm in, I'm all in. Don't worry about it. And I honestly, so everyone can hear this, because I say this to you privately, I can't thank you enough for doing it.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Meant the world to me that you said yes, and meant the world to me that Flat Stick stayed aboard. Jim Duquette every Monday with his former Mets and Orioles GM, all brought to you by Flat Stick Pub. In case you missed it, came in late, be up on YouTube, of course, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast, and of course at PuckSports.com. Thank you so much.
We'll be talking this winter. I know it.
Well, yeah, I'm going to bug you a few times during the winter.
Yes.
Enjoy the playoffs, and we'll talk to you real soon.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. There he is, Jim Duquette, MLB Network Radio, Sirius XM. And again, I'll just say it to him I'll say it to you one more time. Jim was one of the first people that when everything kind of went down at the radio station, I just had reached out to him because, we were starting baseball. The season was upon us. I just said, here's the deal. If you don't want to do it, I totally understand. Would love to have you back on full time. We're going to do it differently. It's going to be a different platform. I had to sell him on the idea. That conversation lasted 5 seconds. He's like, yeah, whatever. I'm good. We'll do it. So without guys like him and all of our guests, baseball, and I'll say the same thing tomorrow when we wrap up the season with Bill Krueger. We'll say the same thing when we wrap it up with Divish, although Divish is going to stay on for a little while, I think. And then for Brad Adam, all the same thing. These guys committed to something that they didn't know anything about, and I can't thank them enough. And I hope everyone has enjoyed Jim Duquette every single week with us. And we will check in back with him maybe during the postseason, maybe a World Series appearance. And, of course, when any news kind of breaks here with the Mariners, if they ever decide to do anything where they break any news, or if they ever decide to, I don't know, maybe announce that their president of baseball operations is ever coming back, we'll get him back on. Or if they make any type of moves there in the off season, we'll get him back on here and we'll discuss it with him. Let's wrap it up with Hey, What the Puck? It's brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle, your restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. And we'll pick up on it there with the Mariners. And I'll just say this. Why is it important to have something formal at the end of the year? Is it the end-all, be-all? No, I don't think it's the end-all, be-all. It doesn't going to affect whether they have a good season next year by holding a press conference. And I can hear people say, you're just upset at that because you're in the media. And only people like you care about stuff like that in the media. Here's why I think you, as the baseball fan, as the consumer, as the person that they are asking you to spend money with them. You have to hold these people accountable for their actions and for what they do. It's the role of whether you like it or not, it's the role of the media to hold people in power accountable. They are in power of your baseball team. They should be held accountable. And they should be held accountable to more than just three people. They should be held accountable. The three people shouldn't have the weight of the shoulders on them in an impromptu press conference. Everyone should have the right to go there and question them, whether they cover the team full-time or not. And that then brings in more dialogue, more questions, and most importantly, more scrutiny. And that's what they avoided this weekend. They avoided scrutiny. They avoided the spotlight. They avoided answering questions, multiple questions from people because they don't want to. Because this organization likes to hide in the shadows. This ownership group likes to hide. This ownership likes to deflect blame, deflect responsibility. And that's what that is really has been the ethos of them for quite some time. And that's why they need to address what transpired this year. And they decided that you, the consumer, are not important enough to them to address any questions. Because why? Because 116,000 people came through those turnstiles this weekend. That's why. Because they know it's not that important, doesn't really matter to them. And it's unfortunate. It really is unfortunate. It's too bad. They should have addressed the media. Maybe they will. Maybe they'll change course and do so. But John Staton needs to stand up there and answer the very question that a lot of people have on their minds. It's the only question to be asked. Why? Why is he back? Why did you decide to bring him back for one more year? Jerry Dipoto can't answer that. He's not the one that made the decision. John Staton made that decision. And the fact is that he doesn't have to sit up there and answer that question and hide behind secrecy and hide behind the shadows. Just tells you what kind of owner he is. Nick Castellanos of the Phillies that said it the best this weekend. He was asked about the Phillies owner. This guy, he's the owner that's sitting up there in the 300 levels drinking beer, just hoping his team can win. And they'll do everything they can to win. That's the type of owner that you and us, we deserve, and we just don't get with these guys. All right, that's it for Hey What the Puck. It's brought to you by Restoration One in North Seattle. Your restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. All right, that's it for us. Tomorrow on the show, we'll have John Canzano. We'll talk baseball, also with Bill Krueger. No Rob Staton tomorrow. We'll do them on Wednesday. The HawksNest guys, Tim Booth, Curtis Crabtree, will be with us tomorrow right at the start of the show to recap Monday Night Football tonight. And then Rob Staton will be with us Wednesday, myself and Jim Moore, for a live edition starting at 10 o'clock. So in case you missed anything today, it'll be up on YouTube, also on Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. PuckSports mobile app still there. Please download it in the App Store on your iPhone. The Android one is coming soon, we promise. The little bug that we're trying to fix with listening to the app and then going off your phone and doing other things, that's in the works. So Jacob, the app guy, is hard at work at it, so we'll get that resolved soon. Thank you for your patience on that. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. We'll talk to you tomorrow. As always, we promise to be better.
No shirt, no shoes, no ties.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for?
We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!